Alright, what's up everybody? So excited to be here today. It's an awesome day out here in Northern Idaho. We got a little snow last night, so you can see all that. Got some, just a little bit. So it's kind of cold out here this morning, but it's good. So today we're gonna go and we're gonna start on grinding these things. I forged them out a few days ago. Probably gonna start with this one, and then I'll probably do these two at least today, and then if I have time, I'll do this one. But this one has a little more work, so I'm gonna try to finish these two today. Then we're gonna go over to the epoxy area, and I'm gonna make some pine cone epoxy handles. So I just wanna show you guys like a little sample here of what I'm probably gonna be doing. I'm gonna do something similar to this, so you guys can kind of see what's coming up. But it's gonna be in like a mold, so it's gonna be about that thick, and I'm gonna do like a hidden tang thing. So you guys will see in part 2 here when I get them thing, and then part 3 I'm gonna sand them. Guys, just wanna show you real quick what I'm doing here. This is a homemade bevel jig I made a little while ago, and I just want to show you what it's for, because you guys are going to see me use it in this video. So what it's for is basically you're going to clamp the knife on like this, and you're just going to make passes on the belt sander. And as you make passes, it's going to slowly just take away, and it's going to grind the right bevel on your knife, and it keeps it really consistent. Some guys do freehand, but since I'm doing this for a customer, I'm still practicing on freehand. I like to do this to get really consistent results. So what this is it's just some washers that you put on, and the more you put on, the steeper the bevel you're gonna get. So see, it'll be like that, and steeper as the more you take. And if you want it lighter and you want it not so steep, then you just slowly take it off, and it'll grind more of the knife that way. Otherwise, it's just grinding a little edge. So sometimes I like to go really steep at first and just get some of the metal gone, and then I like to go light at the end. So I just want to show you guys, and so you guys can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. All right, I'll catch you guys in grinding. So I just want to show you guys what I'm doing here. I am starting the flush grind. So this is where I grind out all my hammer dings and dents, and then I go on to cutting my bevels. So when you're doing this, your knife can also possibly get skinny, or it can be thicker than expecting. So I like to do this first, and then it'll help me judge how steep to cut my bevels. I got my little shop mascot here. She's been out here helping me, just hanging out with me, huh? Huh, Hazel? You're a good puppy. She's just out here, and she knows I'm out here a lot, and so she likes to hang out with me. This is a good time to get pet for her. So I just finished the preliminary grind on the outside of the knives. They're looking really good, nice and shiny. Gonna go over the jig now, get the bevels ground. Alright guys, I want to show you the finished product. Here's the horseshoe rasp, here's the spring steel. After several hours of grinding, I finally got the bevels on. They're turning out awesome. I can't wait to see on part 3 how these things look with a real handle on them. So, they turned out the handles, the hidden tang right here is a little thicker than I was hoping, the tang. But I'm going to see, I think I might leave it, we'll see. I'm going to have to see how carving out the hole to put the hidden tang in turns out. So we're going to see. I'll probably end up grinding down these a little bit. But I just want to show you guys the finished product of these things. They're looking great. I'm moving over to making the pine cone epoxy handle right now. I chose these 2 pine cones. These are my favorite type of pine cone to make stuff with, because they have really tight, like, I guess you could say bristles. I guess you call these bristles. They're really tightly together, as you can see. And so they make it so you see more of the bristles when you grind them flat on the knife handles. So I'm going to go and cut some of these off on the bandsaw to get a flat edge to rest them in the mold. And then we're going to go over and start mixing up epoxy. Alright, I'm going to cut these off, and I'll be right back. Alright, what's up guys? I just got the flat edges cut, so now they'll sit in the silicone mold. Gonna go over to the table over here. I want to make sure, I'm gonna try to find a silicone mold that they'll fit the best in. So I think it's gonna be this one. I might have to cut the ends off a little bit, but we'll see. I think I'm going to fit them in like that, and I'm just going to cut down the middle, so I don't have to use so much epoxy. So, but in the meantime, we're going to throw these in the toaster oven. And why I do this is it knocks, it'll evaporate all the moisture out of them. So that way the epoxy is gonna stick to them better. Because if you don't do it, sometimes there'll be like air bubbles, and if it gets cold, the epoxy will kind of seize up around them, and it won't fill the cracks as well. So if everything's hot and runny, it'll just go in and it'll seal really, really well. So in the epoxy right now, I think the 3 colors I'm gonna do like a silvery blue kinda. I'm gonna do like a foresty green. So I got a really dark green here. That's gonna be the main part. And then I'm going to put a few of these colors to try to get a little bit brighter, because that's a little dark. So I'm going to try to get a little bit more of a lighter green. And then I'm going to try to get a silver. This silver is a little blue, so I'm just going to put a little white in there. I might put a little blue in there. We're going to see. I'm just going to see once I start mixing it and just test out the colors. And then we'll pour them in after the pine cones are ready. So I'm going to start mixing these. And yep, all right. Start mixing some of this epoxy up real quick. Yeah, everything's going pretty good so far. I haven't had any problems, which is good. I like when nothing breaks or anything like that. So, just gonna start mixing up. Pine cones are almost done, heating up. There, pour some of that. So this is 2-in-1 epoxy, so it's equal amounts. Some epoxy has like a hardener that it doesn't take as much to mix up, but this one is just equal amounts of both. So got this. All right, so you get your equal amounts, and epoxy I like to use total boat epoxy. This is my favorite stuff. I really like it because it doesn't heat. A lot of times it won't heat up like a lot of other epoxies will. A lot of epoxies, when you go and you try to heat them up, like when you grind them, well, I shouldn't say heat up, but like when you grind them, they start to get flimsy, like they start to melt a little bit. And this one I haven't had any problems with, so this is my favorite epoxy out of everything to work with. I thought that was just a cool tip for anybody that wants to ever make anything out of epoxy. I highly recommend, highly recommend this type of epoxy. It's got to be the best out there, or at least some of the best out there. So yeah, I'm gonna mix this up. I'm gonna make 2 colors, and my pine cones are almost done, like I said. So yeah, everything's going super good. Can't wait for these to dry and get the things set tomorrow. Gotta mix this stuff really good. If you don't mix it well, it won't set up. So, and actually out here, it's a little too cold out here, so I'll probably bring this inside. Eventually, I'm gonna make like a box where I can just put all my stuff in here, but normally I just set it by the fire overnight and it'll dry. It has to dry in like, I think it's like 75 degrees. It has to dry it normally. And so it can be a problem sometimes if you're not right. It's not right.
So you guys are going to see me using the heat gun in this clip. I do that because I want to make the epoxy really runny. One, so it gets all in all the cracks of the pine cone or the mold or whatever you're doing. And also when it becomes runny, it makes all the bubbles that I mixed in when I was mixing the 2 parts together come up to the top and pop. So that way I have a really clean mixture with not a bunch of air in it that is going to create problems in the future when grinding the molds. I do the air chamber, but it can't always get all the bubbles, so it's just best to take this extra step because it'll save you so much time in the long run.
Alright everybody, I got my 2 colors here, all the epoxy all mixed up. You guys can kind of see that. See what it is. That's like a dark, I'm hoping to get like a forest green out of here, and this is supposed to be like a silvery blue. Gonna pour them in. I'm gonna stick them in the pressure chamber here, suck all the air out of her so we're not just dumping unnecessary air into the pine cones. And then I'm gonna, after I put the pine cones in and then I pour these over, I'm gonna put them back in the air chamber and suck all the rest of the air out. So I'm gonna put these in real quick and I'll video that so you guys can see, and then I'll start pouring the pine cones. Let the air out there, let it out, and I'm gonna do that a few more times. I like to do it about 2 times at least. So that way you can get all the air bubbles out. This one, it looks like when you heat them up with the heat gun, it normally gets a lot of the bubbles out. Like you'll probably see in the time lapse where I was heating it up with the heat gun. That's how I try to avoid bubbles, but it's best to do this just to make sure. And that way you get the best results. Alright, we got all of our air out, so we're good. Let the air out, and then we're gonna pour the pine cones next. All right, here we go. We're gonna pour the epoxy. So I heat these up with the heat gun, got them all nice and liquid, and now it's just up to dumping them. Hopefully we got enough here. I think we do. A lot of you gotta kind of press down and get the epoxy in there. Get it all nice and set up. Alright, kind of like that. I'm actually gonna get a wood spacer and stick a wood spacer in there, so that way it'll fill up a little bit more of the epoxy. So we're just gonna stick a wood spacer in here like this, so we can kind of bottom, and that way it'll push some of that epoxy up and fill into these pine cones a little bit more. There you go, just like that. Yep. Alright, so I'm going to put this in the air chamber real quick, suck all the air out of it, and let it set up for the night. Alright, I'm going to be right back.
So I just do this to make sure I get all the bubbles out, because when you pour in the pine cone, that pine cone has so much surface area around it that bubbles just hide everywhere, and a lot of times you can't even get all the bubbles. Luckily, I think I almost got all the bubbles from when I grinded it in part 3. It turned out really good, and I had hardly any bubbles I had to fill in with glue. So it actually did really good, but there's always a ton of bubbles that come out of the pine cones because they're just so airy. And also when I do this process, it also sucks the epoxy into the pine cone, because the pine cone isn't really a stable material itself. So this just helps it so much and helps it hold together. Alright guys, this is the end of part 2. This was such a fun video to make, and I hope you guys enjoy part 3. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up. That helps me a lot, and God bless.